Hello everybody, this is Rick at Cross Creek Acres. Haven't done a video in a long time. Really haven't had anything to say that I thought was worthwhile. But thought I'd jump back on here and share some thoughts that I have now. I want to do a series of videos on this channel basically talking about what I consider to be nuggets of wisdom that I've gained from 60 plus years on this earth. And you know, I'm mainly doing all these videos so that I can leave a digital footprint, you might say, for my grandkids to refer back to throughout the years on how their old pop felt about things once I'm gone. And I'm putting it on YouTube just in case I'm able to say something that might be beneficial to somebody else. So I'm going to give you a list today of what I consider to be nuggets of wisdom that I've gained throughout my 63 years on this earth. It's not an all-inclusive list, and it's in no particular order. It's just things that popped in my head that I wanted to put out there. And like I said, I'll be doing a series of these videos over time, just to kind of share what an older person's views are on a lot of things in life and how you might be able to make your life a little bit better. A lot of you are not going to agree with some of this stuff I say, and that's fine. If you don't agree, you can go start your own YouTube channel and give everybody your opinions. But anyway, so let's talk about happiness first. Happiness has nothing to do with money and making money. It just don't. If you think that you are going to need to go out there and make a whole bunch of money before you can be happy, then in my opinion, you're looking at this all wrong. Your priorities are messed up as far as how to become happy. The keys to happiness, in my opinion, are how you go about your life interacting with other human beings, maintaining good health, taking care of yourself and staying healthy, having a life of faith, and those to me are the keys to happiness. You get all that on the right page, then on the right track, then you'll be a very happy person. Is money bad? Of course it's not bad, and I want you to make all you possibly can, because basically what money does is it makes a happy person, it makes a happy life more pleasant, more fun. But it will not, if you're not a happy person, money's not going to make you happy. If you don't have all the basic ingredients of a happy life, then you can win the lottery and you're still not going to be a happy person. So that's where I am on the keys, on the basic fundamental ingredients of happiness. Let's talk about finance. Let's talk about money for a minute. Because one thing that can take all the joy out of your life is the mismanagement of money. In my opinion, keep your debt extremely low. Keep your debt low. You know, your debt, in my opinion, should be limited to the roof over your head and maybe one vehicle, maybe, if that's really necessary. But I would say, your debt, your monthly financial obligation to some bank or mortgage company or credit card or whatever that stuff is, should be limited to absolutely no more than 30% of your household net income at the most, because that debt is just the beginning of your monthly financial obligations. It's just the beginning when you start going down the list of food and everything else that you have to sustain your life. So, going out and going in debt on stuff you don't need, and it's just stupid. It's just foolish to work yourself to death so that you can be a slave to financial lenders. Just do not mismanage your money, folks. There's an old saying, a fool and his money goes separate ways, and I believe that. Keep your debt at a minimum and keep track of where all your dollars go, all of them. And be sure you invest in your retirement starting at a very young age. It's gonna, that 55, 60, 65-year-old time frame, if you're 30 or whatever, 25 or 30, and that seems like something you don't need to concern yourself with, when you're making a mistake, because one day you'll look up and you'll be there. And there's nothing more sad to me than to see some 65 or 70-year-old person standing behind a cash register at Walmart or wherever because they have to. It's one thing to go out and make a little money to supplement your retirement and get out of the house and interact with people and all that. That's fine. But if you're going out and standing behind a cash register or wearing an apron around your waist at some hardware store because you have to at 65 years old, then to me that's sad, because you didn't have to save all that much starting at a young age to be able to retire comfortably. So, make peace with your finances. Quit going in debt. I think it's Dave Ramsey that says it, or somebody, but it makes all the sense in the world. Stop going in debt on stuff you don't need to impress people you don't even like. I think that's the saying that somebody puts out there, but it makes sense. Let's talk about how you interact with other human beings. There's too many of us out there that when we're conversing with other folks, we're not listening to them. We're distant. We're thinking about other things when these folks are talking to us, and we're not present in the conversation. We're not looking them in the eye. And, we need to have better human interactions with each other. And in the age of all this digital stuff now, it seems like we've lost our ability to know how to properly act with each other when we're together. Everybody's perfected this communicating electronically, but everybody's forgetting how to properly interact with each other when you're with someone. And everybody wants to mess with their damn phone. When they're with another human being. It's just rude. It's sad. It's unfortunate that this society has evolved this way with so many people. But good quality face-to-face human interaction, if it's done right, it will significantly enhance the quality of your life. and the lives of the people around you. And when it's done wrong, it's hurtful, it's disrespectful, it's rude, and I think we can all do a better job with that. I know that that's been a challenge of mine through the years, and I'm getting better, and I know I'm getting better and better and better at it because I've worked at it. And, you know, I know it's important when I'm interacting with people how I make them feel at the end of the conversation. You know, people will forget what you said and all that sometimes, but they never forget how you make them feel at the end of a conversation. So, you know, be conscious of that. Learn to be pleasant to be around. It will really enhance your life. You know, listen to people. Don't just be sitting there waiting for your quickest opportunity to butt in and give your opinion. You know, listen to people when they're talking to you and look them in the eye. Have some good quality interaction with other people. Let's talk about work. Let's talk about your professional lives, your work life. My advice, I've got a lot of advice on this topic, but I'm just kind of skimming through some highlights on this today. But for those of you that are younger, that are trying to navigate your way through the business world and your work life, here's some general thoughts I have, some little nuggets of wisdom. First of all, don't become brainwashed about a brand or a company. Don't stay somewhere where you're not happy or you're not being properly utilized. And you need to be fair with yourself about what you deserve and what you don't deserve. But if you're not happy where you're at, don't stay somewhere because you've been brainwashed about the company. The company is an inanimate object. Brands are inanimate objects. They don't love you back. You know, it's all about how the people who run the company treat you. And if you're not being treated right from a human interaction perspective or a financial perspective, then you need to keep an open mind about moving on. And that's something my generation was not good at. And I'll say these younger folks have got a better attitude about that, in my opinion, than my generation did. A lot of us would fall in love with these companies and these brands, and we would just stay. Even though we were in bad situations, we believed in the brand, and we thought it was all about loyalty and all that kind of stuff. You know, whoever's paying you, you need to do good quality work for them, and you need to be loyal to them. That's fine, and that's the way you should be. But you also should always leave all your options open. If you can go to another company and better your life, better the life of your family and yourself, then do it. Keep those options open. Very few companies anymore have the old pension plans anyway, so your retirement investments can move with you wherever you feel like you need to be. So don't stay somewhere just because you have fallen in love with the brand that you're working for. That's outdated, and it's just silly. And that was a bad habit of my old generation, generations before us. Let me also say, keep an entrepreneurial spirit. Always keep an entrepreneurial spirit, even if you're working for somebody else. Always be thinking about making money in a variety of ways. You know, it gives you a sense of independence. It gives you a sense that if things go wrong, you can still get by real well. You don't have to be, your destiny don't always feel like it's in everybody else's hands when you have an entrepreneurial spirit about you. So even if you're working for somebody, you should be thinking about other ways to generate income in addition to whoever else you may be working for. So, I've got a lot more opinions on work life and all that kind of stuff that I'll share in specific topic type videos. This video today is just kind of going through general nuggets of wisdom that I've learned through the years. Let's talk about politics real quick, and I've talked about it. I've got a video out there on politics, but I'll hit the highlights of it again. Stop being political pawns. Stop being useful idiots for political parties. Learn history. Our two main political parties, it's just a couple of teams that take a variety of issues and then they fight with each other to see who can win the arguments, because whoever wins the arguments gets all the fame and the money. And if you've got it in your head that no matter what your political party is doing, you've got to support them. No matter what it is they're doing, you've got to be on their side. Well, you have officially become a useful idiot, and you've got to stop allowing that to happen. These two parties have traded these topics back and forth throughout generations, and people who don't know history, they don't realize how easily that they can be used. Tariffs. Right now, it's all about tariffs, and I'm not going to say tariffs are good or bad. That's not the point here. But tariffs is a good example. A lot of the people who hate the right and Donald Trump and everybody on the right now, they hate tariffs and they think it's a stupid idea and it's a dumb idea from the right and all that. And that may or may not be true. I'm not going to weigh in on that. But I'll tell you this, there was a time when the Republican Party was all about 100% free trade, and the Democrats were begging for tariffs. And I remember Ronald Reagan going on TV one night and gave an entire speech about how stupid he thought tariffs were. And he was trying to convince the Democrats how dumb of an idea they are. These topics are cyclical, and they are traded back and forth between these two political parties throughout generations. And it'll continue to happen. So don't be supportive of your party to the point where even when your party is doing things that are against your intelligence, don't support them when you know they're wrong, just because you have to support your party. That's just stupid. And that's what's wrong with our political system right now, is people are allowing themselves to become brainwashed. Learn history. A lot of people don't realize that Martin Luther King and Abraham Lincoln were Republicans. Republicans have always throughout history been, hate people who aren't white and all that other rhetoric that you hear. And, learn history and learn how all this works. And then you'll find yourself being more independent minded, and you'll find that all of it starts to make more sense, and you start to realize what's really going on here. And a lot of those frustrations will start to kind of go away because you'll have your own independent spirit about it, rather than just sitting around being mad at the other political party all the time. So that's my thought on politics. Let's talk about health. Let's talk about your health. Man, I could do hours on this topic. But here's the bottom line. Be your own health advocate and don't bow down to the throne of the white coat, because a lot of these doctors just do not have a clue how to keep you healthy. Western medicine is really good at saving your life when you're on death's doorstep or you have a traumatic injury. Western medicine is really good about keeping you alive longer. But Western medicine is clueless about how to keep you healthy and how to keep you from becoming sick. Western medicine is not built for that. The curriculum for Western medicine is dictated by the pharmaceutical industry. The pharmaceutical industry needs you to be sick. They need to sell you their products. So start being your own health advocate. Do some research about what's wrong with you. Do some in-depth research, learn what's causing you to be sick, and do the things that will heal your sickness. And taking pills just to pacify or satisfy or eliminate your symptoms, that's not the way to go, folks. You're being tricked on a lot of these issues, and you need to wake up and do a little research and be your own advocate. They've got you convinced that if you got high blood pressure, you need to take a pill. They've got you convinced if you've had a heart attack or you had a stroke, you need to be on a statin drug. They've got you convinced that if you have heartburn, you need to take Prilosec or Zantac, and all that stuff, in my opinion, is very, very wrong. And all you got to do is a little bit of research to see what causes these chronic illnesses. And when you start to realize what's causing these chronic illnesses, you'll learn that sometimes it's not a good idea to just mask it with some pill that takes away the symptoms. So, got a lot more to say about that in future videos. I've already done 1 or 2 videos on that, but I'll do more because I'm pretty passionate about it. Let's talk about your love relationships, your significant other. Let's talk about that. I've been married for, in another month, I've been married to my wonderful wife for 45 years, and we dated a couple years before we got married. And we have had a very, very happy relationship for 47 years. So I think I've got the right to give you some pretty good opinions on that topic. And I could talk about that for a long time too, and I will on other videos, and I've already done it on 1 or 2 videos. But I think the most important thing I can say about that right now is when it comes to your significant other, do not let the physical and mental intimacy aspect of your relationship, never let that die. When you let that die, you become roommates, and that's just awful. That's just so sad. There's so many marriages these days that end in divorce. And, everybody was so in love in the beginning and couldn't wait to, get off work and go on a date with each other and all that kind of stuff. And then years later, they're married and they're getting a divorce. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but I personally think the biggest reason for that is couples boyfriend, girlfriend, husbands and wives, they allow the physical and mental intimacy aspect of the relationship to slowly die. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. Keep your hands on each other. Keep your bedroom relationship healthy. Keep it going. Tell each other how much you love each other and what you mean to each other. Don't let that become something you're embarrassed to do. You weren't embarrassed to tell your girlfriend how much they meant to you when you were dating. You shouldn't let it evolve to the point where you're embarrassed to tell your wife these same things after she becomes your wife or after he becomes your husband. So keep the intimacy alive. You know, for you older folks, if one person has a libido and the other one don't, that is a recipe for misery, and it's easy to avoid. Go to a doctor, get your hormones fixed. If you got something else going on that's damaging your libido, then get it addressed. But keep the intimacy fired up. If you do, you'll probably stay together forever. So there's some thoughts this morning. And if these videos mean anything to you, then subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell. I haven't done, this is my first video, I think, in 6-8 weeks. And I may do one every week for a while, or I may not do another one for 6 or 8 weeks. So if you'll subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll know when I do one. I'm not going to do a video just to be doing a video. I'm not doing this for views, and I'm not, whatever it takes to make money on YouTube. That's not why I'm doing this. So I don't feel pressure to churn out a bunch of videos with a bunch of topics that waste everybody's time. But I would appreciate it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so that if I do a video, it'll be seen, or I can tell if it's being seen. And hit the like button, because when I see that folks like to hear me talk about certain topics, it might motivate me to do a better job when I do this. My main motivation for this, again, is to leave a digital footprint for my grandkids, but I hope I can help somebody else along the way too. Anything I've said you don't agree with, then don't try to fight with me in the comment section. I'm not going to play along with all that. If you don't agree with me, go start your own channel. Have a good one. Take care.